And welcome to the Arise Prime Time, where we proffer solutions. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has seized the passports of the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, and her predecessor, Sadia Umar Farouk, over the ongoing investigations into scandals in the ministry. Reports say Betta Edu's personal and official passports were taken away by detectives and she was barred from traveling out of the country. Her predecessor, Umar Farouk, had been quizzed by investigators for 12 hours on Monday in connection with the probe into the 37.1 billion naira allegedly laundered during her tenure in office through a contractor. The ex-minister's passport was also seized as part of her bail conditions. All the accused persons, including the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who is being linked to a contract, have continued to maintain their innocence. But this seems not to be enough, as some Nigerians are calling for an independent investigation of the Graft allegations, including a total reform of the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry and the National Social Investment Program, so as to address the pressing issues faced by vulnerable people in Nigeria. And to make sense of all of this, I have joining me right now two analysts, Dr. Clem Enamhe, who is a social commentator and lecturer at the University of Calabar, and he's also going to be joined by a guest that we have from Ontario, Canada, Nwaogu, who's a former National Secretary for Forum of State and Focal Persons of the National Social Investment Program. Thank you so much for joining me, gentlemen. And I'll start with you, Dr. Don Clem. Let's take a look at this humanitarian ministry and the public interest in it and the calls for reforms. And what we have at the moment right now is people saying that we must allow investigations to go without taint. They've been these accused persons saying that they are actually innocent of some of the things that have been attributed to them. But of course, some of the documents in open actually show clearly that there was some sort of mishandling of official matters. Letters were written, memos were written by these two former ministers, and these documents are all in the public domain. How can these two suspended minister and the former minister continue to maintain their innocence in the face of these documents that we have everywhere?
It's important to realize that the present leadership of President Bola Tinubu thought through and had seen the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation and looked at all the nominees and knew that somebody with some gift, some empathy, some human kindness, and some disposition to sincerity should be brought on board. From the time she came on National Assembly for screening to the time 2 days back, Nigerians have found her excellent, Dr. Betta Edu. And it's important to know that in Nigeria, one thing people like doing is to drag people down. Let me start by informing you that Betta Edu has had leadership training over time.
Yeah, but sorry to just cut in. These allegations that we have documents being backed and being pushed all around. So when you say that people want to pull down the minister, I mean, it beggars belief, because I mean, that's why the anti-graft agencies are actually calling these people to come and give account of their tenure. Considering that we have documents that actually show that she made certain approvals and all of that, don't you think that your statement you made is not in sync with public reality?
She made approval. She has an accountant posted from the Accountant General Office, Mrs. Bridget. She went all the way to get an approval from the Accountant General's office. She now hope you know that it's not as it used to be, that officers from the rank of assistant director can afford to get monies sent to their private account to run specific projects. And that's what the minister did. And assuming that was not in sync with the procedures, when she signed, she sent it to the PEMSEC. There are internal auditors there. They know when something is wrong and when to flag it. It went all through. The money, the 585 million, am I right? That is being said to have, it's that it was not diverted. She didn't say she misrepresented government and took it to her own account. She gave it to a sitting accountant in the ministry. And then we're trying to divert attention from...
Well, that money was actually said to have been meant to be wired into a private account, and that's where we actually have a challenge. But I'll just ask you to hold on there while I also get the views of our guest there. Talk to us as having been one of the focal persons of these social investment programs. What's the procedure for disbursing monies like? I mean, was there any provision for such? I mean, while you were there, was it much more easier for you people to actually have monies being given to some of those focal persons to disburse directly to those who are meant to receive the funds?
Thank you very much. I will say clearly, focal persons did not receive it directly to be disbursed. The ministry had processes through which they disbursed money. But I would like to, first of all, congratulate and thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for this very bold step that he has taken. One of the major sectors of the Nigeria governance process since 2015 that had actually suffered some challenges, including public media trial and lack of proper communication of the procedure processes and the programs of government is the National Social Investment Program. So I think this will be an opportunity for the president and for the government, and indeed entire Nigerian people to understand the impact, the need, and the opportunities this program, the Social Investment Program, is meant to serve. This is a program that is meant to alleviate poverty, meant to support those at the lowest rank of the socioeconomic ladder. Some of the beneficiaries will attest to the fact that for the first time in their lifetime, this will be the first time they will be receiving support and money directly from the federal government. And if you, like I was until 2023, focal person in Nigeria, having been appointed in 2016, when the program was in the vice president office, during the, incubation process, of course, there were this grapevine information that the program was actually the brainchild of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then when he was the national leader. The idea was that money will move from CBN and directly to beneficiaries. There was no, and there was no other layer or structure where money would be warehoused. That is why monies never came to the state government. No focal person received money, investments, expenditures, no state government warehoused social investment funds. So prior to this period, we left in 2023 May. I don't know what's happening now, but what happened was that for some programs, for example, the Empower program, beneficiaries were paid money directly into the account. There was no middleman, accounts to warehouse money. The cooks for the school feeding program received money directly from CBN to their own accounts. Those for cash transfer, initially, the money was paid through accredited service providers, that were accredited by the ministry, and they would take the money cash and pay on the spot with the supervision of stakeholders, including the focal person and several other people, members of the National Orientation Agency, the security agencies like the DSS, the police, ICPC, and it usually was a very transparent process until, of course, some of us who felt this would be an opportunity for financial inclusion, spoke with the ministry, and there were some reviews, and they introduced payment cards, ATM cards we are now giving to beneficiaries. The only one continued to pay cash was the vulnerable grants, which 20,000 naira to beneficiaries, but people like us had always harped on the need to, this is the era of technology. This is the digital penetration across the country. We could leverage technology to make people have e-wallets where they can receive money directly.
All right.
Yeah. I think the president has done so well by insisting. I congratulate the president for demonstrating leadership courage.
Yeah, but what do you make of the former minister and then the incumbent minister who has just been suspended, saying that, look, in all of this, they never personally got any monies, but that these monies, maybe the procedures were wrong in one way or the other, and that is what Nigerians are very angry about. Do you think that Nigerians will be kind enough to believe those kind of talks here and there?
Well, Nigeria is one society that is a tricky society to operate in, especially in leadership level. We run to town with anything that looks bad. Sometimes we don't critically review things. I know that the agencies that are in charge of investigating these allegations are on top of their job, and I will leave them to do that because I wasn't parcel of disbursement of funds. Let the agencies do their job. But what I want to hamp on is that the social investment as a structure must be sustained. The president must do everything he has to do to stamp the feet of his authority to make sure that this program does not die. There are people who have experiential capacity to deliver this program, expand its impact, and make that the beneficiaries, the target beneficiaries, continue to enjoy the benefits of this program.
All right, we'll come to that, Chinanye. I just want you to just hold on with your thoughts there as I come back here. Now, we've seen all of these things playing out, and the president has asked the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to take over the ministry as it stands right now while investigations continue. But people are beginning to say that, look, if the permanent secretary was there, he or she should, I mean, it's a he actually, should have been stepped aside too. And then, of course, the director of finance. And then there are also those who are asking why Betta Edu, for example, had to send a memo to the accountant general bypassing the permanent secretary and then the director of finance in the ministry. Is it that there was no accord between her and the permanent secretary, who's the accounting officer in the ministry?
You know that when you come on board, there's always training of aides and retreat for ministers. The permanent secretary has been PEMSEC since 2017. So it's clearly he knows it. He knows what to do. If he sees the document, he should know what to do. But you see why some Nigerians are talking about conspiracy is because he saw it, he didn't speak up, and he got to this point. And note that the suspended minister, Dr. Betta Edu, is the one that reported.
How did she do that?
She saw the mix-up because she's well brought up.
But she made the approvals, including sending people to Kogi State for them to actually board flights to that state when we know that there is no airport there. And that's where a lot of Nigerians are angry. And then wanting to pay 585 million naira into a private account. I mean, didn't she read all the public service rules before getting into power?
I'll take them. The public service rule, the financial regulations for MDAs 2014 allows her to pay to Mrs. Bridget. And then Mrs.
Into
Bridget,
a private account?
Yes, allows her.
With that huge sum of money?
No, because that is how it is, so that you can monitor it. And the woman is supposed to monitor and process it all the way. On the issue of the director who came up with the memo, look, you can see ambition. And public office is very deceitful.
So are you saying that Betta Edu innocently made all those approvals? Is that what you are saying? Despite all these points that are pointed out by Nigerians,
I am saying,
and then the rules, financial rules that have been put in place by the federal government, which she, as a minister, should have been aware of, and which some people are saying that because maybe she didn't want to play ball with the permanent secretary, who's the accounting officer, she decided to go alone.
Betta has been commissioner. Dr. Betta has been commissioner.
Yeah, but it didn't really reflect in this approvals.
She was best commissioner. She was chairperson of all commissioners of health. She knows teamwork. She grew the ranks. She was vice president of student union, rose to being an SE.
And that's the more reason why people are expecting her to have known these financial regulations and the path, the approval path for all of this.
So if you're set up, wouldn't somebody just come and say, Minister, please, this is not acceptable, and then we go through it again? Why would somebody who had retired from the service and was now appointed as special advisor, financial matters, to the former lady, now come back because they were called to order for the 44 billion, and you know they have returned 39+ billion. So this is something that we are trying to divert from. We are trying to...
Who returned the money you're talking about, the 39 billion you're talking about?
You know that the issues are two. 44 billion was missing, and Betta was taken off. The former minister made 37.9 billion back. Even the fact that it's not complete, the former minister. I'm being careful.
Yes, that's Sadia Omar Farouk,
yes, I'm just being
who's
careful.
also having her own issues.
And then the SA now came back and blew the whistle, the kind of whistle he blew, to see how he can bring down Dr. Betta, who is so clean and coordinated. And then look at this.
According to you.
Believe me.
Because Nigerians are saying that she's not clean at the moment, and that's why the president has suspended her. Do you foresee her coming back to her seat?
Mr. President appointed Dr. Betta Edu from the youth family. He gave youths hope. He brought one of their best. And the kidding, it was a highly contested election. And the kidding, because of her, there's so much followership with this government. And if you see the people that are working with her, see their CVs, young people with direction. And so when you do, I'm not saying that some wrongs were not done. I'm saying that, Mr. President, in your usual kindness, this is an investment in the youth development you promised youths. Please, give it a second thought. Yeah,
but should there be an exception for a youthful representative in government who doesn't play by the rules of government?
Who runs government? Permanent secretaries run government.
Yeah, and so why did she decide to sidestep the permanent secretary in all of her transactions? That's what Nigerians are asking.
Would permanent secretary not come to her and say, we are here, we're here? And I don't think that's true. We are here. These are the following documents I've seen. These are the things we should do. Or was he just waiting to set her up and make sure that he brings this cerebral, classy, well-trained medical doctor who is excellent down so that he'll be happy?
Well, it's not only the permanent secretary, even the program manager for the National Social Investment Agency. Of course, she's also with the EFCC. She was the first to actually be suspended. And then, of course, President Tinubu had to actually replace her. But I'll just ask you to hold on there while we get back to Chinenye. And we ask you, Chinenye, do you think that Dr. Betta Edu and then, of course, Sadia Omar Farouk, they are all as innocent as they claim to be, including the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, who is also being linked to having received a huge contract, though he continues to deny that he was no longer a director in that company?
Well, I was just listening to my brother in the studio. I don't think it's right for Nigerians to come to defend public officers who are found wanting in discharge of their responsibilities. Let me tell you what I did when I was appointed focal person. I called my team in the state and I told them that these resources is for poor people. We are not poor, so we must make sure that the resources get to the people. What I can imagine by imagination is that the information in the place and the things we hear, because we are stakeholders in the social investment ecosystem in Nigeria, is that there are a lot of sidestepping happening under this minister. You know, if you see the documents flying in the public space, where you have a permanent secretary, where you have other, program managers, directors who are supposed to be in the value chain of decision making, being sidestepped, and it gives, a coloration that there is some ulterior motive that is meant to, to be achieved. So, but what I keep emphasizing is that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must utilize this momentum, to be able to rejig the entire social investment structure in Nigeria to continue to play that role and achieve the set objective. I also do not think that it is, I felt very, very, very sad when this happened, looking at the minister as a young person. This is a very sad
and that's what he was saying. Should there be exception for young people in government because they do not know the rules?
No, there shouldn't. Youth should actually be in the vanguard of exemplary discharge of their responsibilities. Young people have been asking for a space unstable, and she had this beautiful opportunity, and it's unfortunate that this is going this way.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm being told we don't have enough time. Do you foresee Betta Edu coming back to that position? And if she does, will she have learned a thing or two?
Well, it's the way we run government and systems in Nigeria and in the entire African continent. Ordinarily, in a same line, she should even resign, because this is calls to question her ability to man the ministry and to carry out the functions of a minister of humanitarian affairs. If she made wrong procedures, even if she made the procedural processes that are not correct, the onus on her, being the minister, was to say no.
All right, I'm afraid I will just have to
a transparent system that will deliver this program.
All right, I will ask you to just hold on there while we'll come back to Doctor here. Dr. Don Clem, talk to us about these political talks here and there that there's a witch hunt against Betta Edu. Even in the face of all the documents and the investigation that's ongoing, is there really a political witch hunt against her, or is just that she was naive while at the federal government level?
Chineye mentioned setup. But let me emphasize on it.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. Do you know that women celebrate women when they are down? Women do not defend women.
So you mean women should have risen up when she has questions to answer?
No, listen. What are the questions? I come from a community where the Amazonians invaded, called Belegete. I had done a memo, and she had said this week she would be there. She had gone to Benue, gone to Maiduguri, gone everywhere. She was going to come to these people who are vulnerable and suffering. The people that used to live in a warm environment and now moved to the ranch. You know how cold the ranch is. And so imagine the pressure those people are going through right now. I miss the fact that she has a good heart. And ordinarily, my appeal is to the president. Mr. President, in your usual kindness, you brought her to limelight. You showed us that this lady can speak for both young women and for young people. She has come in. She may have made a few mistakes. Reprimand her, but let her come back.
But these offenses are not against President Bola Tinubu.
No,
it's against the people of Nigeria if she's found guilty.
The people of Nigeria.
But if she's not found guilty, of course, the people will, of course, still ask her to come back. The people of Nigeria
kept saying she was the best minister. The people of Nigeria kept saying that she had pedigree. The people of Nigeria kept saying that she was down to earth.
So and you think these same people of Nigeria will stand by her all through her trial?
There's a cartel. There's a cartel at this. Me and you will talk about it one day. There's a cartel working.
All right. Well, we must thank you so much, Dr. Don Clem Enamhe is a lecturer at the University of Calabar and is also a social commentator, and is alleging here that there's a cartel in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. And of course, if there is, well, I guess she would have to learn how to work much better. And of course, we've also had Nwaogu, who is a former National Secretary, Forum of State Focal Persons at the National Social Investment Program. We must thank you so much immensely for joining us all the way from Ontario, Canada, to help us take a look at these issues